Welcome to the Freedom and Prosperity Podcast with your host, Desi Arnaz. Join us as we explore the journeys of top achievers who share strategies and stories about their success and living life on their own terms. Get ready to be inspired.
Hello and welcome back to the Freedom and Prosperity Podcast. I am Desi Arnaz, your host, and I'm so happy to be here today to speak with you guys once again about freedom and prosperity and wealth and wisdom and, all the things that really make life worth living. And I'm really excited today because today I have a very special guest with me that has a very varied and unique background. And I found it extremely interesting. And I thought, I've got to have this guy on my podcast. He's got to come and talk to me. I have Mr. Walter Shine with us today. He is a retired health and wellness coach, but he's got a background that goes so much deeper than that and so much richer than that. And so I think you guys are going to love his story. So today I want to welcome Mr. Walter Shine. Let your light shine, brother. Welcome, Walter, to the Freedom and Prosperity Podcast.
Thank you, Desi. Thank you for that wonderful introduction. I'm just happy to be here. Just share and have fun.
Yeah, we're going to have some fun today. And yes, I'm sure that people are going to find your story as intriguing as I did. So I introduced you today and I said, he has a background in health and wellness, right? How do you get started there and what got you there?
Oh, okay. Good question. Okay. So after my college days, I was looking to, I didn't want to, well, I had a double major in business and a minor in sports psychology. So I did want to go into coaching, coaching some high school team or some college team where your job depended on how many games you won, right?
Oh, yeah.
Usually, coach, you lose too many games, they want to boot you out.
You're out.
You got to go, right? So for me, it was one of those things where I said, okay, what can I do? I like health. I like fitness. I like coaching. What can I do to combine all three? And then I looked around and said, oh, why not become a personal trainer? Which I did. And I got my certification at Cal State Hayward, strength and conditioning, that kind of thing. And then I started out, I think it's 1991, January 1991. Working in the gyms, the Y was first place, YMCA.
Okay.
Working with people there. Then I branched out to other clubs like Gold's Gyms, some of the college gyms. So it was just working that circuit where I realized that I can help more people, individual people, if I solicit business from them, from individual people. And then I just open it up to kids as young as 9 and people as old as 94. And everything in between.
Oh my gosh!
Actually, yes, I know that you're thinking 94, right?
What can they do at 94, right?
Right. I got a great story for you. So I had a client, I guess about 10 years ago. His name was John Wolf, retired attorney from New York. He'd moved to California here, and he had a stroke on his left side because the stroke paralyzed your left side.
Yeah.
Put an ad. I was working in an apartment complex out in Point Richmond, and he saw my ad, health and wellness coach, strength conditioning, and he called me up. And he came in, he caught me one day, it was Monday, I think I was there about 8:30. He said, Walter, this health and wellness stuff, strength and conditioning stuff, does it work? I said, yes, John, it works. You think it'd work for a guy like me who's 94? I said, yeah, John, I know it will work for a guy like you who's 94. So sure enough, he hired me as his trainer, as health and wellness coach. We started working out. And I was very nervous, a 94-year-old guy. This man, heart attack or what, But he didn't. He got better. After the second week, he got better. The 6th week, he kept improving. And right about the 8th week, he could leg press 150 pounds 10 times.
Wow.
Which blew me away.
And when he started with you, could he do it at all?
He couldn't do it at all. He had no strength, no upper body strength, no leg strength.
Oh, my
none
goodness.
Of that. But he improved to that point. And it taught me a valuable lesson that whatever age you are, you can start, but you have to start doing something to take care of your health and well-being, your own physicality. And I was very impressed with John. He was just such a sweet man, He was one of the guys back in World War II. He was part of the code breaker team.
No kidding. Broke the German code?
He broke the German code. He was part of that team. So he was
Wow.
giving some history to me, and I'm learning from this man as we're talking, and my admiration and appreciation of him went just through the roof in that sense
Wow.
because
That's a great story. I love
he was a patriot. He was a
it.
so that was just one aspect of it, and that was just the health and wellness fitness part. But there's other aspects of it too. I'm sure you're going to ask me more questions about.
Yeah, no, that's pretty amazing. You mentioned to me something too about working with like younger football players,
Oh yeah.
especially like pro players, so that to help them kind of get their heads in the right place off the field.
Yes, exactly. And that part was what's it goes back to professional football players. So there was a player back in 2008. His name was J. Marcus Russell from LSU, the top prospect, college prospect. He finished third in the Heisman voting.
Oh,
And
wow.
he got drafted by the Raiders. And of course, had this $30 million contract from the Raiders coming in. So is the big drumbeat was about J. Marcus Russell coming in. He's going to be the savior of the Oakland
Yeah,
Raider franchise
yeah.
and this kind of thing, right? And he got a lot of buzz from a lot of people, and they couldn't wait to see this guy play, to see him perform. So I said, okay, let me check him out. So 2 weeks into him playing his first two games, he threw two interceptions.
Oh,
Second week, I'm so like, okay, there's something wrong here, right? And I'm thinking my sports psychology background. I said, there's something wrong here with this guy. He's not performing. What is wrong? I got to find out. And sure enough, I contacted the Raiders coach. Contacted the coach. I said, "There's something wrong with Jay Markers and his performance. He's not performing on the field. What is going on?" I suspect that he's doing something off the field, clubbing. You know how young guys are,
oh yeah.
years old. They come from no money, poverty, come into $30 million, all this money now that they have, which,
Wow.
as you know, money gives you access to everything.
Yeah.
Men alcohol, drugs, partying, the bling, the cars, right? In that sense. And that's what it gave him. But unfortunately, it was his downfall. So talking to the coach, I said, I need to talk to Coach Homo. You need to call me Coach Homo. And I let 2 weeks went by. They didn't return the call. I said, okay, I'm trying again. So I tried to connect with them again. And I left a message to another assistant coach. Said, give this message to Coach Tom Homo to give me a call. But he never did, does he? He never did.
Mm.
Of course, we all know what happened to Jay Marcus. So
Yes.
a couple of years after that, Raiders let him go. So
Yeah.
that was a loss to that club. $30 million contract, that's gone. That investment in him as an athlete is gone. But it
Yeah.
taught me a life lesson that 20, 21-year-old people really are not mature, even though they're athletic. They have these big, strong bodies and people admire them and their skill on the field. But they're really immature men. They're not really men yet. They're still boys in that sense.
Hmm.
And that was a valuable learning lesson to me. Tragic loss for the Raiders because he could have developed something very special. And that,
Yeah.
but
Yeah.
the
It is a
organization just
tragic
didn't
one.
control his vices off the field.
But that's a really common story in professional sports, isn't it?
It is. It really
Yeah.
is.
Yeah.
'Cause these guys really don't have anybody, a mentor, coach, to keep them in check, their life off the field.
Hmm.
So they have all this money, and they go crazy, go to the clubs and the bling and the girls, and
Yeah.
there's nobody really to check them, to mentor them, to coach them. Said, don't go to the clubs. You got a game tomorrow at 1 o'clock. Get
Yeah.
get your 9 hours rest so you be fresh for the game. They stay up partying 2, 3 o'clock in the morning, and then they try to go play the game at 1 o'clock, and they don't have any energy, and you're not going
Yeah.
to perform if you're not rested.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah. And there you go. And it's sad, but it is the way the world works right now. And it's nice to have people that are a little older that can at least reach out to these young guys and
exactly,
women and to say, hey,
exactly,
listen,
yeah,
here's another way to look at this thing and another way to behave if you want
exactly.
to.
If
Obviously,
you
they're
want,
adults, they're going to do what they want, but
right,
someone needs to be passing that message on. And it's
exactly.
wonderful that you do.
Exactly. And I believe in the value and the power of mentoring and coaching, Desi.
Yeah.
It makes a difference. It really does.
So before you were coaching health and wellness, what were you doing then?
Oh, good point. Okay, so before I got into health and coaching, so let's go back to my Navy days and then I'll move forward.
Oh, Navy.
So in basic training, I went to basic training in the mid 80s in San Diego. And the first day, of basics. 400 guys on the tarmac, and they're breaking down companies, 100 guys per company. And our company was 127. So we had to set up our barracks, and there was a tractor trailer truck that backed up to the front door of the barracks. And the guys were going up and getting the bedding out one guy at a time. And I looked at it and said, that seems a little chaotic. Maybe we can get this more organized, right?
Yeah.
So I had all the guys line up, Desi, one single file formation, so they can pass the bedding down one guy to the next. And sure enough, the senior chief came up. He said, who made you guys line up like this? Right? He said, Shine, me, right?
Yeah.
He said, Shine, you're in charge of the barracks.
Oh my gosh.
So now, at 26 years of age, I'm in charge of 100 guys.
Wow.
Okay.
You earned it just by showing, hey, you know what? I'm
Right.
actually a thinking man.
Exactly. So we're showing a little initiative. They love that. You show a
Hmm.
little initiative, right? And they appreciate that. And
Hmm.
then they connect that with leadership ability, is what they did.
Yeah.
So now I'm in charge of the barracks, in charge of 100 guys. And every Friday at 9 a.m., the basic command inspector would come around, him and his XO, and they would come to inspect the barracks, right? And when they get there at the front door, Desi, they would put on these white gloves.
What?
Okay? You've heard
You
of the white
kidding
glove test?
me?
You heard of the white glove test?
Oh yeah.
It's real.
That
Okay.
was real.
That was real. That was real. And they started going through every bunk, every locker in the barracks, 100 lockers. So they came to locker 93, and this long-haired guy named Mark Jackson from Biloxi, Mississippi, right? And of course, they looked in and he got hit on four things, belt not shine, shoes not shine, shirt not press, and all of this. And they said to me, Sean, you need to straighten this man up, right? I said, okay, I'll take care of it, right?
Hmm.
So Jones comes in at 3 in the afternoon because the guy's going weekend liberty, and they come back Monday morning for 7 o'clock fallout inspection on Monday morning. And I said, Jones, you got hit on three things, and you need to get this locker squared away. He said, okay, Walter, I'll take care of it. I'll take care of it, right?
Yeah.
So me, mistakenly, I relied on him to take care of it,
Because
right?
he said he would.
He said he would. I took his word. He said he would take care of it, right? And then the next Friday rolled around, and they came back, not locker 92, okay, and a lot of 93. He got hit on two things.
Mm.
Like, whoa, okay. And they looked at me and said, Sean, if you don't straighten this man up, you're fired.
Oh,
Right? I'm thinking, oh, the worst, I don't want to lose my job, right?
right.
I wasn't getting paid, but I didn't want to lose my job, right?
Your position for sure.
My position was there, and I loved where I was. And so when Jones came in at 3, I said, Jones, you got hit on two things. You're not going on weekend liberty. You and I are going to sit down and going to get this locker squared away. So he and I worked for 3.5 hours, shining brass buckles, shoes, everything to get him squared away. And then the following Friday, they came again, and I'm sweating it. Locker 91 is okay. 92
Yeah.
okay. 93, they opened it, looked in it, immaculate. Immaculate.
Fantastic.
Immaculate in that sense. So that's my first lesson in Management 101, is that you can tell somebody what to do, but if you don't follow up and make sure they get it done, and the military back then is a little different standard than the civilian world, because they don't look at the guy that screwed up. They look at you. You're in charge. You're the leader.
Yeah.
Your responsibility to get this man ship shape. So they don't criticize him. They criticize you. Okay, because you're a leader. It's a different way of thinking in that sense, because now the responsibility is back on you. So in the civilian world, in our modern world, if a guy screws up, he or she takes all the blame.
Yeah.
Leader don't step up and say, okay, I train these people. They're my responsibility. So that was
Well, I like that whole aspect of it. And the reason that I do, Walter, especially for men, and we're talking right now specifically about men that are in the military, but
right.
especially for men, is because in the home, our role as men is typically to be the leader of the home.
Exactly.
Right?
Exactly.
And if the home is falling apart,
right. Yeah.
I don't blame it. Let's say the kids are going crazy, the wife's going nuts, just everything's falling apart. I don't look and think, oh my gosh, these kids are bad, or the wife or the other people that are under the leadership of the husband or the dad.
Yeah,
I look at the husband or the dad personally, and I think, where are you letting down here?
exactly, exactly. Well, it goes back to that principle, Walter. You and I are both are men of faith, and really,
Right.
the husband should be the spiritual head of the home. Okay, he should be overseeing everything in that home. Anything that goes wrong in that home, he has to take responsibility for it.
Yeah.
And unfortunately, if the man, if he has a drinking problem, a drug problem, he's a problem. You know, if he has an
Yes.
alcohol problem, a gambling problem, a sex problem, addiction problem, right? He is the
Mhm.
problem himself. He can't run a home. If you can't be a leader in your own life, how do you expect to lead other people?
Yeah.
You can't do it. You can't do it.
And something else I noticed too, that a lot of times guys will go, these women, they're too bossy. But
Yeah.
I have learned something about women, and I hope you women that are listening to this don't think that I'm being sexist when I say this, but I have learned that for the most part, women don't want to be the boss in the home.
Right. Exactly.
You
Yeah,
know,
exactly. I
they
agree.
realize that the home needs a leader, and
Yeah,
if the man won't step up, they will absolutely step up
exactly.
and take that role. And
Exactly.
then when the man decides, well, I'm going to show my macho-ness, the women push back. It's like, wait a minute,
Right.
wait a
You
minute,
allowed me to step up. I want my life where I'm at. Okay.
Yeah,
Don't
exactly.
move me out yet. I like it being here. This kind of stuff.
Yeah,
But it
yeah,
function that way. So two
exactly.
heads
So
in the home doesn't really work. Well, it has to be one person leading.
has to be
It,
one.
it has, I mean, in God's design, I mean, you and I are both men of faith. This preferably God wants the man to lead, to be the spiritual head of the home. But the man has to be a man. He has to know how to lead. And a big part of that is communication. Is how do you communicate to your wife? How do you communicate to your kids? Are you a positive role model for your wife and your kids? Are you alcohol, drug free, and steroid free?
Yeah,
No gambling addiction, no sex addiction, right? None of
yeah.
that stuff, but you're a positive role model. If you're a positive role model, more than likely, I would say 95% of the time, they will follow you
They will follow you. And you're right. You're right.
and respect you.
Yeah.
Yes, indeed.
And that's we talk about freedom and prosperity on this podcast. And
Uh,
as you guys know, I don't just mean freedom. I don't just mean, financial freedom. I'm talking about just the freedom to be you, to be yourself, and the people in your family can be free to be themselves
yeah,
within under your leadership, right?
exactly.
And
Exactly.
so I think that what Walter is saying here is spot on. And that is, as a leader in your family, they're looking to you. So you do have to hold yourself to a higher standard. We do as men and as leaders.
Exactly, exactly. You know, to add to that too, Desi, when I look at myself, so the whole alcohol drug thing, and a lot of churches I've been into, I met a lot of guys who struggle with alcohol, struggle with drugs, sex addiction, or whatever in that sense, right? And those vices keep them prisoner, it does.
Yeah.
And when
Yeah.
I tell people, in my life, I've been fortunate enough that I've been alcohol, drug free, and steroid free my whole life,
Wow.
not even a marijuana cigarette or a cigarette.
Wow. Wow.
So I know how to be a positive role model in that
Yeah.
sense. So
That's
when I
that's
talk,
really wonderful.
yeah, I mean, nowadays you don't hear that. So everybody's going to AA or some narcotic program.
Yeah.
Yes. So I was very fortunate that I had a father in my life. And that's one of the keys. And I believe that fatherhood is the key to a child's destiny. I
Yeah.
really believe that in the sense that I had an old man, Walter Sr., when, 15, I had chores to do on a Saturday. And one Saturday I got up and I'm just going to refuse to do them at 8
Hmm.
o'clock, right? So I'm standing out on the porch and he comes up to me and said, Junior, you going to do your chores today? I said, I don't feel like it,
Oh my goodness.
right? Yes, I don't feel like it.
Oh my goodness.
I'm waiting for the fight to come, right? And he did something so beautiful, even like 45 years now later, I think about this. He said something that just stopped me dead in my tracks. He said, well, I'm going to let you think about that for a minute. Turned and he walked away. No fight.
Hmm.
He left me there alone. I'm ready for the fight, but no fight. He didn't give me no fight. And the thing about it, I thought about it for 2 or 3 minutes. Said, oh, okay, I guess I'll do it.
Well, that's a wise, wise man.
He was, but he had trained me to do the right thing.
Yeah.
I mean, he was the one that, getting talking about faith, started me walking to Sunday school when I was 8 years old, to the First Baptist Church in Oak Ridge, Louisiana.
Yeah.
Yes. I didn't know what he was doing then, but I didn't understand why he's so hard on me. And then
Yeah.
I'll give you one more story. Then at 16, I'm out with some guys on a school night on a Wednesday night about oh, 8 o'clock, and they pass around this funny smelling cigarette called a marijuana cigarette,
Mhm.
right?
Mhm.
And it's like five guys, and it came my turn. I had it in my hand, Desi, and I was bringing it up to my mouth, and I froze. Image of my old man came up in my
Oh my goodness.
head. He's looking at me, right? I can't do it. I can't do it. So I put it down. And then I had a curfew too. It'd have to be in at 9. And I turned
Yeah.
to the guys and said, listen, I gotta go. I got a curfew at 9. And he said, oh, Walter, you don't have to go. You don't have to go. He won't know. He won't know. I said, yes, he will know.
You know, it's funny, Walter. Your life sounds a lot like mine in that, I wasn't raised by my dad. My dad walked away when I was about 8 years old. But
Yeah.
my mom, she took on that role. As I said,
Oh,
women will
yeah.
step up. They'll
You
do
had
what
to
needs
be
to happen.
disciplinary and to my heart goes to single mothers too. So it had to be mother and dad. Yeah.
Yeah. So I had a curfew.
Oh, yeah.
My friends were smoking pot, and I didn't even know it because they wouldn't do it around me.
Yeah.
Because they just knew that wasn't me. And I didn't
Right.
even know they were smoking. So after we graduated high school, they're like, I saw one of them, his name was Tommy Thompson. I saw him with marijuana. I was like, what are you doing? He's like, man,
Okay.
me and Kenny and the other, we've been smoking pot for a couple of years, brother. Really?
Where you
Smoking
been? Where
marijuana.
you been?
Yeah, it's like they
Well,
just kept it from me. They kept
your
it from
mom trained you right to stay away from that stuff.
Yeah. And my
I'm so
friends, my friends respected that,
They did.
and
They
yeah.
did.
And
And
they
they did.
said, we just won't even bring it to his attention.
Exactly.
And so that was a good thing. So,
It
for
is. It's
me,
as part of your growth process, and from that point on, okay, I'll get back to my story. So the guy said, "Well, he won't know. He won't know." I said, "Well, yes, he will know." Then I took off running, 8:50, my 9 o'clock curfew. I got there in 8 minutes. I was 16 years old, had some good wheels in, right? I got in with 2 minutes to spare, right? But I
yeah,
great curfew, and that part of me, it stayed with me. So when I, went into the service, the whole thing about you never be late because they have a rule, right? If you can be late,
yeah,
that means somebody's life. So I was never ever late, and it became a part of me. It got in my DNA, and that
yeah.
right. And I'll give you more story about the marijuana part. In high school, I had a best friend named Mitchell Ray Brown from the first grade on, and this guy, as a freshman in high school, he made all-state baseball as a freshman.
Wow.
As a
Wow.
sophomore, he made All-State again. He made second team All-American basketball. And this man was a god. Okay,
Hmm.
school. He was gifted athletically.
Yeah.
But after he graduated, I went to Dallas and he went to Detroit. 2 years later, I get word that Mitchell had gone to this party and there was some cocaine on the table. And he took a hit of cocaine and became fully blown addicted. And really, I thought this man, this Superman, if it could happen to him, it can happen to anybody. And that
Yeah.
and that reinforced the idea that I need to stay away from drugs, which I did. But it was heartbreaking to see this man. He's my friend, but he's also my hero.
Sure.
He's gifted
Sure.
athletically, right? But he fell because of cocaine in essence. So anyway, it can happen to anybody. So your vices do matter. You really do. You want to stay away from the bad stuff to lead a good, productive life into being a good husband, a good father, a good provider. You have to be alcohol drug free. You really have to, in that sense.
And Walter, too, you have to pay attention to who you're hanging around. You
Oh yeah,
mentioned he went to this party, and this is what was going on
yeah,
at that party.
yeah.
And I teach people how to invest and how
Uh-huh.
to grow their investment portfolio so they can have financial freedom at some point, right?
Right.
And I talk all the time about who you hang around with matters.
It
And as
does.
adults, if we're in our 40s and 50s and we have, children and grandchildren, some of us even,
Right.
we advise them all the time, don't hang around with the wrong kids, right?
Right.
All the
Right.
time. But yet
Right.
we hang around with the wrong adults. You know, it's like, okay, let's
Right.
look in
Right.
the mirror here.
Right.
Okay.
Right.
Who are you hanging around with? The people that you're hanging around with are getting drunk all the time, getting high all
Yes.
the time.
Yes.
They're not living their faith. I
Exactly.
mean,
Exactly.
I
Yeah,
mean,
I do. I do know this because the thing about it is just You have to walk your talk. So I think you and I are guys who walk our talk, really. But we don't hang around. I'm not going to the club, strip club.
No,
Okay. I'm
no,
not going to somebody's party I don't know. There's a lot of
yeah,
drinking and drugging going on. I'm
no,
just not going to do it. I mean, I'll go to church and if I find somebody struggling with alcohol or drugs, I'll encourage them to do a
yes,
program, to meet with the pastor, this kind of thing, right?
yes,
But you're not going to catch me out at some strip club somewhere. You're not going to catch me out in the red light district picking up prostitutes, you know? It's
no.
not me. I'm not going to do that because I'm a man of faith and honor and integrity means a lot to me.
And I'm not going to hang around with guys that do.
Exactly.
I'm
Exactly.
just not.
Yeah, exactly. You have to
I
make
get
that.
to choose who's in my life. They don't
You
get to
have
choose
to.
to be in my life. I choose who's in my life.
Yes, you
And
do. You
it
do.
took me a while to kind of understand that it was really my choice.
Yeah. Okay.
But once I understood that, probably in my mid 40s, I just
Okay.
started putting the wrong people out of my life. I just said,
Okay.
no, I'm just not going to go there. I'm not going to hang around with those people. I didn't treat them badly. I
Right.
just
Okay.
I just didn't leave the door
Well,
open.
right, Desi, you couldn't hang out and party with me, sure, right?
Yeah,
You were going to go there. Okay.
yeah,
And I get it. I totally get it in that sense.
yeah.
But it takes a lot for a man to really become a man. He has to think about that, not just other people, but himself and how he's portrayed, how people see him in that sense. So honor and integrity is a big thing with me. About 4 years ago, I went to Ogden, Utah, to get some R&R. You know, I stayed at the Howard Johnson's Motor Lodge
Hmm.
in Ogden. So I arrived on a Saturday and I cut off everything, phones, tablets, the whole bit, just to rest. And then Monday at 1 o'clock, this word came to me, leadership. I said, "Oh, okay, that's interesting." And then Wednesday at 1, it came again. I said, "Oh, what is God trying to get my attention here?" Then Friday at 1, it came one more time.
Wow.
I said, "Okay, Lord, what are you trying to tell me here?" And sure enough, I came back Monday. I arrived in the Bay Area Monday, and I got to Sonoma County here at 1 o'clock. Okay, and I was tired from traveling. I laid down. And it's at 6 or 7, and I woke up the next morning about 8 o'clock, and the phone rang. It's from a family friend. Her name is Diane Morrison, and she was a leadership coach, and she was offering a class, being a leader class for $5,000. But she said, Walter, I know you have an interest in leadership, but I want to gift you with this class, this $5,000 class, right? How can you say no to that?
Wow.
Okay.
Yeah.
And sure enough, we started the class. I think it was June 24th, Thursday at 9. And then at 10, you had to go in your breakout room with another person talking. And your assignment was to find out what your core values are, right? So we're in there, and I have my partner, Jane Candy. She's going on and on about, oh, Walter, how hard it is to find good customer service anymore, right?
Hmm.
And as she's talking, what came up for me was these lying politicians. It's like, whoa, really? And it hit me. And then in that moment, Desi, I discovered what my core values are. You know what they are?
What are they?
Morality and integrity. So don't lie to me.
Yeah, that's fantastic.
Don't lie to me. Okay.
Good, solid core values that can help you live a good, solid life, and people can know that your yes is yes
Oh,
and
yeah.
that your
Oh,
no is no.
exactly.
Yeah,
Exactly. And you're trustworthy too. I mean, how can you follow a leader who you can't trust? It's
yeah,
about trust. Leadership's about trust.
yeah.
But the essence it boils down to is true leaders don't lie. They just don't. They don't go
Mhm.
there. So for
Yeah,
me, I've discovered really, I was kind of looking for my purpose in life. What does it all mean? What am I supposed to do? And that was the defining moment of morality and integrity. Because I had never really studied leadership before. I always had done it. People had picked me to be in
sure.
this, be in charge of that. I always had done it and I'd done it well. But I never really drilled down on it and studied leadership before.
Yeah.
That surprised me. And then it made sense that, before that, I'd be watching the news and there's some politician up there lying and I would want to gag. Yeah,
Makes you want to puke.
you
Like,
go on
oh,
mute.
seriously?
I did. I had that such strong reaction.
Yeah.
I mean, it was just incredible. And then I understood that's why I'm want to puke because I see somebody up there lying.
Yeah.
Can't stand it in that sense.
Yeah.
So my integrity is intact and it's solid and it's sound. And I
Well,
will not compromise my values.
I love the fact that you studied the leadership,
Yeah.
It was kind of already in your core.
It
Uh,
was.
I
It
know you
was.
said your core value, but it's already kind of who you are.
Oh yeah.
But then study it, it helps you really appreciate at
Uh,
a deeper level that same who you actually are,
exactly.
which is
Exactly. And
nice.
you really discover who you are because I
Yeah,
never slowed down long enough to discover who I was as a leader and
yeah,
start to study it.
yeah,
And that was that morality and integrity thing. It caught me by surprise, but it's just, yeah, it made sense. When I look back over my history in high school, first or second in the playing field, first classroom at playing field, Navy honor guard, ex-cop, right? All of
hmm
that. It was in me. That's my core values in me.
That's your value. See there,
It was there in that
a
sense.
lot of self-reflection.
Yes.
I hear as we wrap it up here today, here's what I would say to
Uh-huh.
those of you guys that are listening to Walter's fantastic story. Um, Look at your own lives, right?
Mm.
You
Yes.
have,
Yes.
there are some core values that you have, and maybe you haven't taken the time, as Walter says, you haven't slowed down enough to actually say, what are they? Right?
Right.
Maybe it's time to slow down,
Yes, exactly. Mm.
unplug. I love the fact that when you went to that Howard Johnson, you turned off all the screens,
Right. Right.
right? And
Right.
just unplugged and said, let me just be present. Let me be present with me and
Exactly. Yeah.
with the Lord.
Yeah.
And I love that. And so, that's a good lesson for all of us, Walter. I appreciate you
Mm.
sharing that
Sure.
very valuable lesson with me and with
Yeah.
the rest of us.
Sure.
So I want to ask you one other question here, Walter, before we wrap it up. And that is,
Sure.
if there was a bit of advice that you could give to someone, let's just say in their 30s or 20s, 30s, 40s, whatever,
Okay.
um, especially particularly men,
Okay. Right.
not, and I say that only because I am a man and I really believe that men have a real high calling in
Uh,
life.
they
Uh,
do. They
yeah.
do. They do.
What
Sometimes they
would
fail. Yeah.
what would you like to say to people out there, to
Wow.
the men?
It's an excellent question, Desi, because I'm saying that right now. I'm mentoring two men. Amir is 36. Demetrius is 33. But unfortunately, these men have, been in the alcohol scene, the drug scene, the porn scene, right? And
Mhm.
they're not really leaders in their own lives yet because they're trapped by these vices.
Sure.
My suggestion was if you're struggling with anything, alcohol, drugs, sex addiction, gambling addiction, whatever the addiction is, get some help, but turn to the Lord, give your life over to Christ. He will help you. He will send His Holy Spirit in you to help you get cleaned up. Like it says, be holy for I am holy. And really, He will start taking away the desire for drugs, desire for alcohol, desire for
Yeah.
sex addiction, desire for
Yeah.
gambling
You
addiction.
just won't want it anymore. It just,
No, you won't. You won't.
yeah.
It really won't. We really won't want it. And that's the thing. That's the advice I would order. So for men, and with my two guys, Amir, because you really want a wife and a kid and a family, right? And I know in my heart of hearts, you're not ready. Okay.
Right. Right.
Not ready to take on that responsibility. You can't lie, lead a family, guide a family, protect a family if you can't lead yourself,
Yeah.
you know?
Good point.
These
Good point.
vices, I mean, these vices have you. You cannot step up and go out and find a woman and marry her and dump all that on her. She don't deserve that. She don't deserve that verbal abuse. She don't deserve that physical abuse. She don't deserve that mental abuse. She really,
Yeah.
your wife, I mean, God gave you a wife as a gift to be your helper, your helpmeet.
Yeah.
Yes. You do not talk down to her or treat her badly. You do not yell at her. You do not cuss her out. Because
Yeah.
words matter. They really do. And most
Yeah.
people, most couples don't understand that. Your words matter. What you say to your spouse matters. It really does.
It really does matter.
Yeah.
And just to kind of point it out to you, I just want to mention how I mentioned earlier that I may have ruined my first marriage by overworking. I worked too much. I think we talked
Yeah.
about that before we actually went on the air.
Yeah.
But that was just part of the problem. The other part of the problem in my first marriage is that I never ever made her feel secure. I never
Wow.
made her feel like I'm here for you and I'll never leave. In fact, I
Wow.
would say things like, "Hey, you know what? Nothing's forever. You know what?" And I didn't realize what that was doing to
What
her.
that was doing, right? Right. Well,
Yeah,
Desi, you want to connect it to your words, the impact and the power of those words coming out of your mouth. Not, but that's what she heard, that
yeah,
she didn't matter.
yeah.
But you just didn't have that awareness of it.
I didn't
You were
have
not
that
aware
awareness
of
of
your
it.
words. And I was the same way. Even though I was a great guy, I'll give you one more story. I guess we have to get off. I guess about 25, 30 years ago, I was this wonderful guy, but I couldn't control my mouth. I would criticize people, I would down people, I would be very arrogant in my words until I found this Mankind Project, which helps men stop their violence. I've never hit a woman, that kind of thing, right? But I never hit a woman. But when I went, I learned too about the cycles of violence. I went there on a Tuesday night at 7, and it was like these 8 guys sitting around in a circle. And this plumber guy said, "Well, I'll just push it down the stairs." She broke her arm, but she made me do it. Right?
She made me do it.
She made me do it. Right?
Wow.
And this construction guy said, "Well, yeah, I hit her and broke her ribs, man. But that mouth, she just wouldn't stop talking."
Yeah.
Right? And to them, in their mind, that was okay.
Yeah.
That was okay to do that violence to that women. That was okay for that. And after the meeting broke at 8, I went up to Hamish St. Clair. I said, "Hamish, I don't think I belong in this group. These freaking guys are sick." They're sick, man. They're sick. And he said something so beautiful. He said, "Walter, something brought you down. Why don't you see if you can stay? Why don't you stay and see if you can learn something?" When he said that, I heard that because I always wanted to learn these things. And I stayed for 6 months.
Wow.
Learned about the cycle of violence, the hearts and flowers stage.
Yeah.
And it was an awakening to me because, church people, we talk about being born again. But when I finally understood why I was carrying all this anger and I got underneath it and I could see it, and when I understood that when I got it, it was like being born again, does it?
Okay.
Because from that experience, it made me a better husband, a better father, a better leader.
All right.
It did. I did. And I'm forever eternally grateful.
Wise words. Thank you. Thank you so much, Walter. I really appreciate you today and your story. I find it inspiring, and I'm sure that many, many, many other people will find it inspiring as this story goes out around the world through our podcast. So
thank you, Desi. Thank you for having me.
Yeah, it's my pleasure.
Yes, sir.
And I want to thank you guys for sharing with us today too. Walter and I do really have really enjoyed our time together. And I hope that you guys have found this to be very enlightening and inspiring. And especially you men, I hope that you men will take Walter up on his recommendation that you seek the Lord. He said, increase his presence in your life. And that you let go of these things that are burdening you and turn them over to the Lord, and he will cleanse you and carry you through. So God bless you all. Thank you so much for joining us on the Freedom and Prosperity Podcast.
Amen.
I'll see you guys on the next podcast.
Yes. Great.
Thanks for tuning in to the Freedom and Prosperity Podcast with Desi Arnaz. Want to share your success story with our audience? Head over to freedomandprosperitypodcast.com/guest and apply to be our next guest.